Welcome again to Cottage Talk. I am Russ Goldman. This is my match reaction show. My 5 takeaways from Fulham's victory against Southampton. As always, please do subscribe on YouTube and Apple Podcasts. It does help other Fulham supporters find us. Also want to mention about being part of the talkSPORT Fan Network. I've been talking about this since September. Well, now talkSPORT is starting to promote it a little bit. We're going to be hearing more and more about this next season, but I just want to say one more time, I am thankful that I'm part of this network, that Cottage Talk is part of the talkSPORT Fan Network. I'll be mentioning other podcasts that are part of this network as well as we move forward. But I just want to mention one more time, Cottage Talk is part of the talkSPORT Fan Network. Okay, let's get to it. Let's talk about this victory for Fulham, 2-0 against Southampton. The result puts Southampton down. They are now relegated to the championship. And that's going to start off the show as I give you my number 5. And my number 5 takeaway is that I do not enjoy that Fulham were the team that sent Southampton down to the championship. I don't get any joy out of this. I have a lot of respect for Southampton. And they've been in the Premier League for a long period of time, similar to Fulham's run. So you have to respect that. And I do respect it. I do respect what they built. I absolutely do. Their downfall, I will say, is actually twofold. One was they were unfortunately selling their best players. I understand why. They had to sell so many of them that, again, eventually it's going to catch up to you. Also, they've had some really good managers over the years, and unfortunately, several of them have left. So when you're getting rid of quality players and quality managers, eventually things are going to go wrong. And that's what we've seen now from Southampton. They are now relegated. But one other factor I want to mention that is familiar to Fulham supporters, change in ownership can certainly change what happens to a football club, because I believe owners take a while to adjust to the Premier League. It happened with Shahid Khan when he took over Fulham. I did not realize what a big deal that was going to be. With him taking over, that would really take them a while to figure things out. And it did. Fulham got relegated. That's not obviously the only reason why Fulham got relegated, but changing ownership, I think, is a factor in why Fulham got relegated the first time a while back. And then, of course, you have the situation with Southampton. I think that's where we have some similar situations when Shahid Khan took over and the situation with the new ownership with Southampton, because you're asking a lot from owners to learn on the fly the Premier League. It does take time. It does take time to learn the business of football. And thankfully, the Khans, I think, have learned it, but it's taken them a while. So I think the combination of not having all of their best players because they've sold so many of them, change in managers, they've changed them so many times, and a change of ownership, I think it all caught up to Southampton. I do wish them the best. I do hope they come straight back up just like Burnley did, because they're a team that I have no ill will towards, and I do hope we see them soon in the Premier League. Just not replacing Fulham back in the championship. I don't want to see that. But I do want to see Southampton back sooner than later. That's my number 5. Number 4. This is now becoming a running theme. This is Russ Goldman is wrong, number 4. Number 4. Carlos Vinicius continues to make an argument for his place at Fulham next season. I think I've said this on a prior show, so I'm going to say it again. Now, it's not all about scoring the goals, but it's important. When you're a striker, you need to score goals. He has now taken this opportunity with Mitro being out and figured things out. And Fulham have learned how to play without Mitro. And really, Vinicius has been a part of that. It's funny, he had to take a setback. They replaced him with Dan James, and then they went back to him a few matches later. And now Fulham are reaping the rewards of that move. I could say Marco Silva is, and Fulham Football Club are. And Vinicius is starting to pay dividends. What's interesting here, and I'll be talking about Mitro in a second, is he's making the argument that maybe now Fulham do have 2 legitimate strikers, because Carlos Vinicius is improving. Players can improve. Sometimes we need to give them a chance. Sometimes they need more than just a few games to judge them. And I've been a critic of Carlos Vinicius. I wanted to give him a chance, and I should have given him more of a chance because he's now proven to me that he belongs at Fulham Football Club, and I want him to stay at Fulham Football Club for next season. I think another season with Marco Silva, he'll be even better. So I want Carlos Vinicius on this side next season. I'm saying that right now. He's proven me wrong. Absolutely. I've had several players that have proven me wrong. Anthony Robinson is another one that I've said several times. But Carlos Vinicius has proven me wrong. That's why he's number 4. Number 3 takeaway from this match. And I've talked about this as well, but I'm going to bring it up again. Harrison Reed. His value to Fulham continues to be underrated. Completely underrated. The partnership with him and Paulinho is vital to everything that Fulham do. It's not just about Paulinho. It's what Harrison Reed can offer. When you look at his work ethic, you look at how he just worked harder than the defender to get that ball, to set up the first goal. That is why we should all be backing Harrison Reed. He's a player that I gravitate towards. Not the same player, not at the level of Danny Murphy, but he has these Danny Murphy tenacity qualities that I liked about Danny Murphy. Harrison Reed has these qualities, some of them. Different type of player, different central midfielder. But Harrison Reed is someone that gives you 100%. And I think he's underrated. I mentioned in a prior show, a former U.S. men's national team member, now a pundit here in America, was asking the question, his name's Eric Winalda, if this player, Harrison Reed, deserved in the Premier League. And I'm going to say right now, Eric Winalda, you happen to watch a match where Paulinho wasn't playing, and I think that's vital to Harrison Reed being who he is. That partnership with Paulinho brings out the best in Harrison Reed. So he saw a match without Paulinho, and it wasn't one of Harrison Reed's best matches. But when he's in his role that he's in now, he flourishes. And I think he's extremely underrated, his value. That's why this is number 3. Harrison Reed's value to Fulham continues to be underrated. Let's go to number 2. And this is an easy one. Number 2, takeaway from this match, Fulham are better with Mitro. Fulham are absolutely better with Mitro. There's no question about it. There are 2 players that Fulham need to continue to build around. Actually, I'll make it 3. It's Bernd Leno, it's Paulinho, and it's absolutely Mitro. All 3 players are very important to how Fulham play this season. They are what we would call over here your star players. The players that stand out. It's these 3. And Mitro showed in this match that Fulham are simply better. Yes, he scores the goal. It's a nice goal, but you could feel his immediate impact when he entered the match. Mitro is a striker, but he is a complete striker. He has been missed. He helps out defensively. He comes into the middle of the pitch. He helps out in so many different ways, sets up his teammates, and he scores goals. That's what makes him different than some other strikers that we see, because he's a complete player. And Fulham are lucky to continue to have Alexander Mitrovic. I'm glad that I get to watch him each and every week, except for when he is suspended like he has been for these 8 matches. Now, the good thing with the suspension is now we've seen Carlos Vinicius flourish. But that doesn't mean that Fulham are better with Carlos Vinicius instead of Mitro. That would not be true. They're much better with Mitro. And he needs to continue to be a Fulham player. And if you watch the match, you're going to hear the cheers for Mitro, the chants for Mitro. Fans love him. He loves them. It's a love affair between Mitro and the Fulham supporters. We need each other. And Fulham are so much better with Mitro. So that's why that's my number 2 takeaway from this match. Coming up next is my number 1 takeaway from Fulham's 2-0 victory against Southampton. Okay, so here is my number one takeaway. And I mentioned this in the preview episode. And what's interesting about this is I don't know if this is an American term, win out, but I'm going to use it again. My number one takeaway is Fulham show they can win out, meaning that they can win the rest of their matches. 2 more matches to go. They just continue to win. They beat Leicester City. Now they've beaten Southampton. They relegated Southampton. Now we have 2 opponents that, on the face of it, are going to be difficult because I think Roy Hodgson has re-energized Crystal Palace, and they're going to be difficult, but it's the last home match of the season. Fulham certainly can beat this team with Mitro being back. If they're patient, if they look for their opportunities, I think that they can beat Crystal Palace. That's number one. But the final match of the season, if I'm a betting man, I bet on Fulham because this is going to be a huge revenge match. And I said this to a friend just today, that he was saying, well, maybe Manchester United will still have something to play for, and that would be bad for Fulham. I said, no, hell no, that would be good for Fulham. I want everything on the line for Manchester United. I want it all on the line because I want there to be that extra motivation for Fulham to win that match and just destroy the hearts of the Manchester United supporters because I think they're going to do it. I would not bet against Fulham at Old Trafford. They have something to prove in that match. They absolutely do. I don't care what the stakes are for Manchester United. I hope they're heightened because that would make it even sweeter. I can't stand what happened in that match, how that all went down because Fulham were the better side until the match changed. Honestly, they were the better side. I look forward to the rematch at Old Trafford, and I would not bet against Fulham Football Club getting all 3 points. In fact, I think Fulham have shown, especially now with Mitro's return, they can win out. And that would be fantastic. If you think about it, imagine Fulham on 57 points. That would be insane. And that's something to be very proud of from Fulham Football Club. I think they're going to win one of 2. I definitely see that, but I think they're going to win both. That's why they've shown me why. I think they're going to win out, and I think it's going to be a very good end of the season for Fulham Football Club. It'll give them some, not motivation for next season, but it will help them get ready for next season if they end strong. Doesn't mean it's going to lead everything positively for next season, but it certainly can help ending on a high. I think Fulham are going to end up on a high. I'm calling it right now. Fulham are going to win their next 2 matches. My number one takeaway, Fulham show they can win out, and I think they're going to. Okay. Well, that's going to do it for this episode. Before I go, I also want to mention one bonus topic is that I've had a chance to look at the penalty shout a few times. I'm still going back and forth on that, but I will say that I've seen it given. And it just doesn't seem like Fulham get the breaks when it comes to situations like this. It wasn't given as a penalty. We move on. But I've seen it given to other sides. I'll just leave it there. Okay. As always, please do subscribe on YouTube and Apple Podcasts. It does help other Fulham supporters find us. Well, that's going to do it for this episode of Cottage Talk. As always, my name is Russ Goldman. Thank you as always for watching and listening to Cottage Talk. Now part of the talkSPORT Fan Network.